All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's hi, David. It's 19:01 hours. This is the Tuesday, October 13th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. I'll go over the agenda. At 7 o'clock, we'll have community input. 7:05, LEPC update. 7:15, Finance Director on short-term borrowing authorizations. 7:30, Superintendent Jim O'Shea will talk about the town CPS coordination of building maintenance procurement functions. 8 o'clock, the police and fire chiefs will lead a discussion on the possible joint public safety building. 8:30, we'll be assigning articles for the special town meeting. 8:45, cemetery deeds. 9 o'clock, appointments and resignations of committees. 9:15, the town administrator's report. 9:25, liaison reports. 9:35, approval of minutes and warrants. 9:45, executive session. Hoping to adjourn by about 10:15. As always, we may take something out of order if we go a little faster than we thought, or if we go a little slower than we thought. So just keep that in mind. I think most people, we're not having anybody from outside today, so we should be able to keep it pretty much on schedule. So let me start with community input. Is there anybody who would like to address the board? Not seeing any, so I will then go to LEPC update. Chief Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. So the LEPC met today with, I guess, not a lot of news. Carlisle still stands with 25 confirmed cases, 12 probable, and 3 unclassified cases of COVID-19. And that's either an uptick of 1, or depending on what the 3 unclassified is, potentially a little bit more. In brief, the LEPC today was focused on most of the departments doing what they do and just talking about continuing to do as much of Carlisle's business as possible, as safely as possible. While a long meeting, I thought a lot of good information was discussed. I guess some of the upsides are no departments reported that any of their employees or any of the populations they directly supervise have any cases within them. And then some time was spent obviously talking about some events that we've planned for town meeting and specifically Halloween. And the LEPC looks forward to moving forward with folks responsibly planning as much as we can do in Carlisle. I think as an LEPC, as a group, we can be pretty happy about where we are and the work that we've done. But unfortunately, our work goes on, and I think that all members of the LEPC are thankful to the members of the Carlisle community and our partners in keeping Carlisle safe. We're not happy with any of the cases, but I think we believe firmly that Carlisle's in a good spot. And I know that obviously you and Kay Reed and Barney Arnold were also on the call this morning, and Tim. So if I've missed anything or glanced over something that anyone feels is more significant than that, I would yield the floor to their comments. Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you. Anybody else have comments? Barney, do you want to say anything about Halloween?
Sure. Always happy to talk about it. Well, just to sort of put into the record that the Board of Health has approved the neighborhood sort of old-fashioned trick-or-treating plan, which has a window from 3 to 6 p.m. on Saturday of Halloween for families to go out trick-or-treating. And the idea is that we're soliciting neighborhoods that are interested in participating in hosting trick-or-treating, and each neighborhood has or will have a captain and some volunteers to reach out to their neighbors and see who it is that actually would like to participate and offer candy, and also to help kind of manage the afternoon of trick-or-treating itself, to make sure people are remembering to wear their masks and keep a safe 6-foot social distance, and that, you know, everything is going smoothly. And the way it's going to get organized is by having a sign-up genius that is not live yet. So anybody who's listening, it's not available yet. You're going to have to wait till Saturday. But then you'll be able to go online and register for one neighborhood to trick or treat in, and for one specific time period. And we're really asking people to stick with that. And then obviously this is for Carlisle residents only. And this is all sort of sponsored by the Cheer Project, the Cheer Team Project. And we will, we can assure everybody that there will be a spot for every family that would like to trick or treat in the neighborhood in town. And more to come. There'll be a press release in the Mosquito that runs in this issue, and then we'll have a few more details as we confirm the final list of neighborhoods for next week.
Good, and thanks. And I especially want to thank the cheer committee for taking this on. This is a big deal, and we really appreciate, with all the other things you've been doing for the town, this one is equally or even sometimes more important. Halloween is a time-honored tradition in Carlisle, and we really appreciate all the work and effort you're putting into making it both not only enjoyable but very safe for everybody. So thank you.
I'll pass that on to the rest of the committee. And I also just want to say that, you know, it's remarkable how many people have stepped forward just from the neighborhoods to say, yeah, I'll help out, or I'll host, or whatever, I'll be a captain. So it's a great testament to, you know, our town, and also just one of the benefits of being in a small community where we can all, you know, figure out together how to do this in a safe way.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Chief. On to the fun part of the evening, borrowing. Kim.
Yes. And actually, it's not short-term borrowing. It's actually long-term.
Yes.
Borrowing. So you had several bands that were out with communications, the fire truck, that were all coming due this November. And then most recently, we did a 6-month ban I did for the school parking lot, so that we could combine it all together for one large bond right now, because it's expensive to do, you know, bonds for smaller amounts. So the full bond was originally went out to bid for $3,890,000. We received 6 bids. We did very, very well. The interest rate, the true interest cost ended up being a rate between 1.164 to 1.37. Piper Sander and Company received the lowest bid, put in the lowest bid, so they're awarded it, and I need you to vote that tonight. We received a $494,000 premium, so that'll be used to offset costs and reduce the bond. So the bond is now reduced by $375,000. So on the most recent papers for the vote, you'll see the bond now is $3,515,000.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we did very well. Thank you. And due to timing, we didn't want to put this right up on the, would have been nice to get a meeting next week, because we could have gotten all together and then papers ready for that. But we pushed it to have everything come in today, so you could vote tonight. I'll have you sign the documents. They'll email them over this week on the 20th or 21st. And we'll have the money in the bank on the 29th for the new loan. And then the loan it's paying off, those proceeds will pay off the loan, the band note that's due on November 20th. And then we'll have, I pushed it so the first principal and interest payment isn't until FY22. So it'll be August and February that the payments will be due on this.
Thank you. And for the people who are listening who may not know, a ban is not something bad. It's a bond anticipation note. Barney, did you get the proposed motion?
I did not. I don't think. I mean, when would I have gotten it?
About maybe half an hour ago?
Oh,
Yeah.
shall I look? Why, did you want me to make the motion?
Yes, please.
Barney's not the clerk.
Oh, that's right.
David is.
Sorry,
yeah.
David is. Yes,
Oh,
David,
okay.
did you get it? He's muted.
So you want me to make the motion?
If you
Yeah.
have it,
Is that the one that Tim sent a while ago?
yes.
Yes.
This
Yep.
evening.
I, the clerk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared for that. Okay. Tim Goddard, the motion open. Possibly for the clerk. Okay, I should read my emails. more
It's a
closely.
long motion.
It is, yeah. Yeah, well, I'll go have a cup of coffee.
You can make a motion to vote them all the sub-motions at once, or? do we
Yes,
just-
you
Yes.
can. Yep.
Okay.
That's-
So first I move that we move all the,
You have to open the attachment because it's all written out there.
Yep.
no, that piece is not, right? It's each individually, but I was saying, I think as Tim suggested, that we would vote everything at once in one motion. Am I misreading that?
No, that's correct.
Okay, so I first move that we vote all the motions in one motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Roll call vote. Barney?
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to read the, Arnold, I.
Lewis, I.
Modell, aye.
Reed, aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay?
Now, do I need to read the whole thing?
No, I don't believe
No.
so. Kim?
No, no. You can reference it to the attached addendum.
Okay. I, the clerk of the Board of Selectmen of the town of Carlisle, certify that at a meeting of the board held, that's not really a motion, is it?
Yeah, certified.
Yep.
That
Yes,
count as a motion? Okay, I move that the sale, now, Kim, you gave us a different number with the credits, but do I use the number as printed?
it's the
3515.
Okay.
515.
Okay, I move that the sale of $3,515,000 general obligation municipal purpose loan of 2020 bonds of the town dated October 29th, 2020 to Piper Sandler and Company at the price of $3,947,065.97 and accrued interest, if any, is hereby approved and confirmed. The bonds are payable on August 1 of the years in the principal, and the amounts bear interest at various respective rates. Now, Kim, well, I guess I have to.
Is it-
Further move that the bonds maturing on August 1, 2032, August 1, 2034, and August 1, 2037 shall be subject to mandatory redemption or mature, I think there's a noun missing, fees as outlined in the packet. Further move that in connection with the marketing and sale of the bonds, the preparation and distribution of a notice of sale and preliminary official statement dated October 5th, 2020, and a final official statement dated October 13th, 2020, each in such form as may be approved by the town treasurer, are here be ratified, confirmed, approved, and adopted. Further move that the bonds shall be subject to redemption at the option of the town upon such terms and conditions as are set forth in the official statement. Further moved that the town treasurer and the Board of Selectmen be and hereby are authorized to execute and deliver a continuing disclosure undertaking in compliance with SEC Rule 15C2-212 in such form as may be approved by bond counsel to the town, which undertaking shall be incorporated by reference in the bonds and notes as applicable for the benefits of the holders of the bonds and notes from time to time. Further moved that we authorize and direct the town treasurer to establish post-issuance federal tax compliance procedures and continuing disclosure procedures in such forms as the town and bond council deem sufficient, or if such procedures are currently in place, to review and update said procedures in order to monitor and maintain the tax exempt status of the bonds and notes and to comply with relevant security laws. Further moved that any certificates or documents relating to the bonds may be executed in several counterparts, each of which shall be regarded as an original, and all of which shall constitute one and the same document, may be delivered by electronic mail in a PDF file or other electronic transmission as shall be effective. And electronic signatures on any of the documents shall be deemed original signatures for the purpose of the documents and all matters related thereto, having the same legal effect as original signatures. Finally, further move that each member of the Board of Selectmen, the town clerk, and the town treasurer be and hereby are authorized to take any and all such actions and execute and deliver such certificates, receipts, or other documents as may be determined by them or any of them to be necessary or convenient to carry into effect the provisions of the foregoing votes. So that's a whole bunch of motions.
I'll second all of them.
Yep, I think that's all we need, David. The rest of it simply has to do with when you sign it.
Right.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I do have a question for Kim. So the interest rate that's stated in the motion is 5% going to 2%, but you mentioned something quite lower than that.
Well, it works out. It starts at 5% that the actual coupon is and the rate, and it works down during the loan. But because they're giving us a premium, that reduces the amount of interest.
So can you explain to people listening what a premium is?
A premium is a cash amount back to us. Trying to get the exact amount from Piper.
Well, you mentioned it's 300 and something. So in other words, it's kind of like when you,
$494 for the premium.
Right. The total interest cost when they bid out the loan would be, for us to pay back, would be $817,942.22. But they give us a premium back.
Yep.
So they give us the loan, they're going to give us $494,445.35, which we'll use to reduce the loan. So the actual net interest cost is $323,496. Hence, relates into what they call a TIC, which is the true interest cost.
Yep.
And that would become a rate of 1.1644.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you for explaining that, and thank you for our A1 bond rating.
Yes, very
Yes.
nice. Either.
Yep.
Okay.
We'll
All
keep
right.
that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Louis, aye.
Model I.
Reed, aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, Kim.
Thank you. Well,
We're in debt.
you're in great. Yes.
You get that of gratitude, right?
Yeah.
That's a very nice job, you guys. Very
Yeah,
good.
that was actually very well done, and I think we came out pretty well in that, so thank you
You
so
did
much.
very well on the bids. You're welcome. And I'll either reach out to you or Peggy on the coordination, because we will do, rather than electronic, we'll do actual physical, because that'll have to be attested to by the town clerk. So plan on the 20th or the 21st to come in to sign those.
Okay, and David has to sign that, or do I?
You just need a majority.
Okay,
to,
everybody has
to
to, so,
sign it.
okay.
Yeah, whoever wants to,
The
I
whole
think.
board, yep.
Right, the whole board, or as long as we get a majority, we're
Very
fine with
good.
it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good
Yep.
night.
Good night.
Right.
All right, I see Superintendent O'Shea is with us. Jim, would you like to talk about town and CPS coordination?
Sure. I don't know if you want, Tim, do you want to jump in or?
I can start it off and you can jump in too.
We
Either
can
way.
play it together. So I was kind of surprised Tim invited me out to the meeting last week. I was like, oh, because I think the last time I checked in with Rob was back in May on the initiative, which was started back in February, if you recall. So met with Rob and Tim and Steve, and they went to work on a couple of ideas, right? One was around kind of seeing if we can consolidate our purchasing of supplies and utilities and inspectional services and things like that to see if we could realize some savings. So really, Tim and Rob went to work on identifying a variety of different places where we could realize some savings by doing that. Some places we thought might be helpful, but didn't turn out to be helpful. But a lot of the coordination, they identified quite a few pieces that might be able to help us work, right? Just purchasing things and going into contracts with groups based on doing it together. And then I also know that Steve Bastick and Rob got together to really develop a town-wide 5-year capital plan, identifying some of the primary pieces that need to be replaced across the town, whether there be roof buildings or rooftop units or boilers, or so they created a fairly comprehensive plan at that level. And that's, they identified in the first 5 years with those major pieces about $3.5 million worth of expenditures that we could share that with you later on. But it was really Rob working with Tim and Rob working with Steve to identify some of these things. Of course, then everything went on complete shutdown in March. Everything came to a screeching halt. So we have these plans that have been developed, but we haven't started to implement them across the board. I think Tim and Rob have been working on some of the coordination of inspectional services and things, which we are taking advantage of. Even simple things like elevator inspect. We know the elevators have been in trouble, but even the idea of having the elevator operators come out and inspect both the town elevators and the school elevators at the same time could save you thousands of dollars over the course of the year, because they charge it $1,800 just to show up, right? So our ability to really plan these things out may have some great savings for us over the course of time. Tim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, that's accurate, Jim. And we talked about consolidation of vendors. You referred to the elevator company. Now, finally, you know, we all use the same elevator vendor, and I think there's some advantages to that. We talked about service contracts where the town could bid for something like an electrician or a plumber, and the town would award 2 or 3 contracts to the 3 lowest bidders. But then when you need one of those services, you've got a call list. You go to your number 1 plumber on the list. He's your first call. If he can't do it, you go to number 2 and so forth. And we really ought to be using the same vendors for a lot of these things. The procurement process can be somewhat of a mystery at times, and a lot of kind of rules and arcane rules at that. And, I think, between the schools and the town, I think we can help each other with that. There's a lot of bidding requirements and follow up on contracts and so forth. So I think basically we don't have a grand plan for you tonight, but we wanted you to know we're working in this area. And I think, a notion that we have at this point is that we're working toward the day when someday we've got a town-wide facilities department, and Rob and Steve or whoever are in those positions are working together, and they're the town facilities department, and they're working for both the general government, the town hall, and the schools, and there's no differentiation, and we think the town will be well served with that model. That's a ways out into the future, but that's sort of where we're heading with this thing. Is that accurate, Jim?
Yeah, I think us working together, as I said, I think Steve's pretty part-time, so he could use any organizational help and anything that'll help streamline the process. And then looking towards how do we, maybe we do have a budget line that is just for facility upkeep, and we take care of all those pieces across the town in it. I think, Tim, you and Rob made a pretty comprehensive list of possible items that we could be, so we could create that into not a master plan, but a bit of a plan that we could bring forward to the committee in a couple of weeks and say, like, all right, let's see, maybe come up with a schedule for implementing some of these pieces over time.
Sure. Yep.
And it'd be interesting also to share that 5-year capital plan with the select board, so that they can get an idea of some of the major pieces that are sitting in the wings, according to Steve and Rob. One of the other things I think Rob mentioned was we also use, we have a platform called School Dude, in which we build in work that's needed immediately, but also regularly scheduled work. So if we could use that School Dude platform to build the town needs into that, even though Steve may not have a chance to get to everything, at least between Steve and Rob, and everyone will know what's on the horizon, what needs to be taken care of in order to
Right.
really keep that preventative maintenance in place.
Right. And I'm not sure to what extent that list may have been shared with the facilities committee or not, but that's certainly something that needs to happen as well.
And we got it tonight in our packet, Jim.
Okay.
Yeah, that memo from
Rob. Yeah.
Rob. That was,
From
That's different from the long-term
no,
needs.
yeah, no, I know it is, but I'm just saying, we have seen what
Yeah,
Rob wrote of his conversations with Steve. Now, this was from May, so,
Yeah, that's it.
but it does tick off a bunch of those specific things.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea, and certainly, I mean, just reading the May memo already identified a lot of savings that can occur, and this is all very much in the right direction. We very much applaud this way of doing business. Hopefully, it will formalize and we'll continue to move in that direction. So we certainly want to encourage that.
it would be also helpful, I think, when we do a bigger presentation, to have FinCom sitting in on that as well, because they are ones that, try to carve out pockets of money for long-term caps and things like that. So it would be well for them to know what was sitting in the wings as well. And
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly if this moves along the way we hope it does and becomes more formalized, it will require some changes in our budgeting process. And I think that's at that point, we'll certainly have to get the FinCom involved.
Yeah, I want to say it's, I'm sorry that Josh Kablowski's not on today, because this really is the realization of his vision, I think, that when he was on school committee and on municipal facilities committee, that we would, operate seamlessly as one town. So I'm really glad to read what Rob and Steve put together. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we refer to it as the Josh Kablotsky plan and initial planning, right? But we did his idea of inventorying everything we have in town, and then therefore tracking it and knowing when its end of life is. And
Effective, exactly what Rob said in his note, or you said in your remarks, Jim, that, having one vendor to do these things together saves money. And we're leveraging our, purchasing power across the town. So it's very good.
It's a little mundane, but even so, a School Dude is actually a very nice program that allows you to monitor and know what's being done, what isn't being done, where it is, who's responsible, all that kind of stuff. It's a really, I've used it myself, and it's an excellent instrument for doing these kinds of activities. Good. Anything further, Jim? This is good.
not from this side, not right now.
All right. We'll
Is there, Alan, is there an action out of this, or?
not at this point. I think just to encourage them to keep meeting, and hopefully we'll get to a point in the next several months or a year where we actually formalize this and perhaps have change our organization to recognize it.
Right, but Rob makes note of MCOR. Let's see, I'm reading. Dakin is due for renewal. I need to cancel it ASAP. So can he go ahead and do those things that he wants to do?
I think so.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so we're not
Tim
standing in the way of
can
anything.
handle that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna see where we are on that. Just remember, Rob wrote this in May, and I think we've had some interactions. Our HVAC was a big piece of our reopening, if you recall, and I think we were still working with Dakin, so I think we still have that contract. But we'll check it out and see where we are and how we might be able to kind of terminate it in a way that will help us save some money, but also meet our needs in the short run.
Good.
Okay, I mean, we're good, let us know if we can, how we can support it, but it sounds like we shouldn't really wait. We should just, sounds like you're starting anyway, so that's great.
Yeah.
And while we have you on the line, how'd the first day of full-time school go?
For the elementary students, it was indoors was great. Of course, we had indoor recess, right? Which
It's pouring today, yeah.
That's not easy. And pick up and drop off was a little longer because we have more. All of a sudden, there's twice as many cars picking up and dropping off. And then we try to keep the kids inside from the rain as they're picking up. So hopefully, if the sky's clear tomorrow, it'll be a little smoother. But everybody's pretty patient with that part. The internal piece instructionally in classrooms went very well. So that was great. It's just all these little added pieces that we need to make work. But so far, so good. Knock on wood, knock on something.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you for all your work and making this all go smoothly. So far, it's
Yeah.
been pretty nice.
I'm sure there are bumps coming though, right? We see the
Yeah.
bumps all around us. They're coming.
Well, as I say, I go to my expert across the street who's in his first week of kindergarten, and he gives it nothing but rave reviews.
I'll pass that along to everybody.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah,
Thank you all. Have a great
Thanks,
night.
Jim.
Thank you.
you.
All right, moving right along. We're in very good shape here tonight. Chief Fisher.
And
Deep sorrows.
Chief
Chief
Soros.
Star- Is he on? I didn't see
Yes,
him on.
there he
There he
is.
is.
Oh, there he is. Good.
But now we've lost Chief Fisher's picture, and so I don't know if he stepped away for a few minutes, thinking he was coming back at 7.
Oh, yeah, because it's not till 8 o'clock on the agenda.
Yeah.
Oops.
All right. Well, let's.
You know what? I will. I wonder if he will see a chat.
Or maybe
Or
you
we can do a quick one
Yeah.
like cemetery deeds. Let's
Okay,
move this.
Sounds good.
Let's do the cemetery. Let's get that out of the way. Cemetery deeds. That's number 6 in your
6.
file.
Yeah.
Okay. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items to approve.
Do
If
we
you've
have
got
to-
them there, someone
have
can
to do
move the
them
first.
Each individually?
I don't think we need to. They all have to be signed individually, but I think we could probably
Yeah.
vote on them on masse.
But each one will be read out.
Yeah. Usually,
Just-
that's a new format. Normally, we say vote to transfer the land to somebody at this. Okay, so I'll give it a shot. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to transfer land in the public burial ground to Luann Goering of Carlisle, Mass. Let me see.
Which one are you looking at? I'm looking at one.
Well, I'm looking at section D, numbered 112. I'm looking at the deeds.
Cemetery deed 740.
Yeah, what I'm looking at just says the address and the green cemetery lot.
Yeah, but on the actual, the name is given on the actual.
Yeah, okay, so, that's Lynn Goering at 142 Woodridge.
Correct.
So I just added the name. Okay, Lynn Goering at 142 Woodridge Road, at Green Cemetery, lot D112, graves 1 and 2. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to transfer land in the public burial ground. Oh, well, this one has a name. To Meredith and Daryl DeLong, 69 Fern Street at Green Cemetery, lot D114, graves 1 and 2. And move that Board of Selectmen vote to transfer land on the public burial ground to Tim J. and Janice M. Gordon of 1183 Westford Street at Green Cemetery, lot D225, graves 1, 2, 3, and 4. That the Board of Selectmen vote to transfer land in the public burial ground to Stephen P. and Penelope A. Zezima, 209 Bedford Road at Green Cemetery, lot D209, graves 1, 2, and 3. And that the Board of Selectmen vote to transfer land in the public burial ground to Kenneth and Martha Bedrosian, 44 Bedford Road at Green Cemetery, lot D134, graves 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Lewis, I.
Modell, I.
Reed, aye.
Thank you very much. Motion's passed unanimously. Thank you. Tim, on signing these, will that be done electronically or do we need to come in and do those?
I think I'll check with the town clerk on that. I think we might need an original signature.
Yep.
I'll let you know if that's the case.
On a
Okay,
TV,
If not,
I
we'll-
imagine.
Yeah.
Because those don't get registered with any registry. Those are just, okay.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I see that Chief Fisher's with us now. Chief Soros, Chief Fisher, the floor is yours.
Thanks a million. So I guess what we would like to talk to you about is the possibility of moving our two organizations together in a combined public safety building with a dispatch center. And I guess to summarize the conversation, obviously in 2016, the town commissioned a study of our buildings, fire department and police department included, and in brief talked about, the police department being 33 years old, the fire department 35 years old, and that, from the police station standpoint, we failed in multiple categories. In that 2016 study specifically, we don't meet the standards for a police department for a town of over 5,000. Fire department's kind of in the same category. They talked in the report about every square inch being used, some highlights, women's facilities, and the need for more space. And those are really just brief summaries. In 2018, town meeting approved $82,261 for the design of a new police station. In April of 2019, the town approved funding to the tune of $864,742 to build a new police station. After a lot of wrangling of that design, that's what they said the building could be done for. Again, summarizing a lot of work and a lot of issues. The bids came in at almost twice that amount, and that's been shelved. And the direction we received from the selectmen about a year ago was that we'd rather pursue a combined station with fire and police and dispatch rather than each organization go forward. And at that time, it was, we want to really get this done sooner than later. Then, of course, this pandemic hit. But we really think it's time to move forward because this is going to take a little bit of planning. It took some planning to get us to where we are. But the direction we received from the selectmen at that point was that we needed a combined building. And I know that obviously Chief Soros and I have been talking about this. We both support it, and I know that Chief Soros has a couple of other thoughts for tonight, so I don't want to steal all the floor. Chief Soros?
Yes, I mean, I think your points were all right there. So basically, we're at a fork in the road, and the fire station was a well-built, well-maintained building, and it's served us well for 35 years. We need to do some things to it, though, and when we do, it opens kind of a Pandora's box of compliance issues. We're also now an OSHA state, which brings its own compliance issues and shows some of our safety issues that we have. So, we can look to do things separately, or we can look to do them together, but we have to make that choice, and we have to decide which direction, because we need to be moving forward in one direction or another. So, I can talk a bit about kind of our history, and they built our building to be expanded when we got the ladder truck. We got the ladder truck without expanding the building, so we're way too cramped in there to be safe and to support the kind of department you need to attract call firefighters. So I think we need to do something. We need to make the decision. We need to move forward, and a combined building would be what the town, as far as I understand, thinks is the right way to do that.
Okay. Reading what was written, the next step would be to form a planning committee to begin to address what obviously will be large issues in moving forward with this. And I'll
I think,
throw that open to the board. Comments?
if I may ask one
Yep.
other thing, Mr. Lewis, really, at our request, when Chief Soros and I have met about this, and, you know, we've both spent extensive time working on this facility planning. We'd like a small, nimble group with the sole purpose to get this done. I think in brief, what's held up stuff in the past is we're always a part of something else that, you know, is in a lot of folks. So in any event, that's our specific request, is a small, nimble group whose job is getting this done. Thank you.
Are there models that are available to us, to people who've done this well?
Yes. So our deputy chief has worked in a number and its neighboring town and worked with building theirs. But we also know a number of towns around us who've done both combined and separate buildings and have architects that they both thought did good jobs, and also the negative examples as well. We know a few of those as well. So I think
those are always useful.
yeah. I think we have some things to start with.
Good. All righty. All right. Let me ask other board members for comments. Barney?
Yeah, this has come up too, you know, as we've been talking about the master plan, you know, which I've been participating in. And it also came up as part of the master plan work over the last year or so, you know, got mentioned at various points in the small group conversations that have happened around town, which we call the kitchen conversations. And I certainly support the idea of trying to figure out how to do this. I certainly supported not putting money into the, you know, renovating the police station at the cost it was going to be. And I think it does make sense to try to figure out a different different way to move forward. I think the other view that has been expressed is the consideration of sharing services with another town. And I know that's a, you know, totally different way to go, and it's but it has definitely, you know, come up in the small group discussions around the town's future. And so I think I guess I'd like to explore both ideas or discuss them more fully before we you know, put together a small working group to pursue the joint public facility building for Carlisle, because I think that's a huge decision to you know, to make, and I don't think we have formally made it as a board of selectmen. That we've discussed it and we've said, yeah, we should definitely explore it, but so I think I'm putting it out on the table just because I think it is, we don't want to not consider that as well. You know, the other option of sharing services with other towns.
Other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to jump in on that one. I think, so the history, Barney, is that we explored that in some depth. I don't remember the year, but I'm going to say like 2010 era. And there was considerable dialogue with Concord on a shared police. Before I go there, I think because we have an on-call fire department, I think generally a shared resource of fire department is considered a non-starter, and I would put myself in that camp, but, you know, again, we can open the dialogue, but I think that's generally not come up for discussion. What we did spend a fair amount of time considering back in the day was the shared police and shared communications, or maybe just shared police. I don't remember exactly. And I think it went fairly, it was fairly substantive. And again, we only queried Concord. We didn't sort of shop it out to all the other towns, but it seemed like it was cost effective from the standpoint that a larger department could handle the difficulties that I'm sure John, you know, deals with all the time, which is, you know, people out sick. If you're a department of 50 versus a department of 20, you know, it's a very different dynamic than trying to staff a small department for all these vacation, sick, extraordinary duties, whatever. So it got a reasonable amount of review, but at that point, I think public sentiment was very much against kind of ceding that local control of one of the most important, you know, things we have, which is public safety, to another town. And you know, my guess is that's still going to be the issue. So what I wonder though is, and I take your point, how much does that dovetail with a decision on a building? And so let me pivot to that for a minute. John, I heard you in saying you want a nimble special purpose committee, but I don't think anything in this small ecosystem can be, you know, that isolated. So even setting aside whether we were to consider partnering with another, you know, town on certain services, what about within the town? And I guess it's maybe a Barney question on master plan. If we're building a building, and we can't build that many buildings in this town, is there a community center piece affixed to that? The COA/community center/thing. Where's the MFC, what is it? The master planning committee on that topic?
It's certainly in the mix.
Right.
I mean, the community center is still, you know, part of what's being considered, and but there has not been. We're not far enough along in the coming up with specific proposals that we've gotten to that level of detail. But I personally, I think that that would be a very worthwhile thing to explore. Were we to decide to build a new building to make it serve, you know, multiple purposes, if we could figure out a way to do it.
Right. So I think, you know, I mean, kind of the very high level strategic, you know, calculus on this thing, then the variables are like, where do you put it? Which I know there's certain ideas on that. And then if you're going to build a building, it's kind of like what Kim was saying about the bond rating, you know, you're better off like just clumping things together and doing it once. So if we're going to build a building, should we build a building that suits all the needs that we see? And in that context, a community center is a viable piece. And then if you go that far, then you say, well, you know, is it really even that important whether we end up in the long run having a dedicated police department or we share it? Because even if we shared it, I think having a, you know, outpost is probably not a good word to use, but you know, a footprint in Carlisle for that shared public safety function is probably, you know, a good thing. And the on-call department, if that remains as a dedicated Carlisle on-call department, it's going to need that. You know, the biggest piece of the footprint, I'm guessing, is fire anyway. So just again, I'm giving you very broad kind of thoughts here that whether we share services in the long run with another town or not may not be as important in the sort of thinking about a new facility than whether we share it with other in-town functions like, you know, community, you know, recreation and gathering.
Council on Aging, yeah.
all those things, kids and
Yeah.
everything. And then it brings these to parking. So one more question before I cede the floor. When you guys, and I'm talking to Brian and John here, when you guys think about the facility, what piece of land are you thinking about?
I mean, there are some ideas, but I don't want to put the cart before the horse. Philosophically, this has to be the right thing to do before people in Carlisle are going to step forward to join this. Is my personal opinion, and Chief Sorrows may have a different one. But we're dealing with a couple of facilities that are very, very different. And both have their problems. And, it depends if the desire is to lump, other functions of town in with this building, then that's going to change the dynamic too. So, I mean, I've got some ideas, but it's too early for that.
Right, but that comment you made, John, is exactly why I don't think that you can have kind of a special purpose committee in the way you envision it. That we say, yes, we'll do that, and boom, let's have it. We have to approach it holistically, like we're only going to get to build one building for the next 10 years. I think we can't. We're just too small to operate in a vacuum. So we have to approach it, I think, from purpose.
Well, I guess it was more that when this was part of municipal facilities, I didn't really want to go down this road, but I mean, I can't even tell you the hundreds of hours that I spent in different public meetings and these facilities who had, a lot of things on the table. And, Kate was there for a good amount of it. There's people that looked like a Venn diagram by the time we were finished with getting to what we took to bid, with the number of people, very, very smart, very dedicated people for brief periods of time. And, we got to what I couldn't call anything else other than an epic failure to get the job done that the town voted to do, voted to fund.
I mean, but John, even if
Which is why I asked for the small nimble group. I wasn't trying
even
to.
if it had been narrow in scope, I mean, the thing came in at 2x the initial budget, and that had nothing to do with any other departments.
2.5 times the amount of planning. Then we had people that started later than us in the planning and got buildings done, smaller towns and some bigger ones. And I don't want it just to become,
Right, but you're putting a time thing on it. I'm putting a dollar thing on it. I mean, even if you had a pure play I don't mean this accusingly, but you had a pure play police facility, and maybe it got scope creep, I don't know, but it came in at 2.5x of its original estimate, and it's just fixing an old building. So my point is that, I mean, that's really my point. When we get into it, regardless of what the scope is, it's going to cost a lot of money, and we just don't have the wherewithal in this town to do that multiple times. So if we're going to put together, and I totally support it, by the way, I think a public safety building is absolutely the right way to go than fixing,
Yeah, I think you have a good point, and I think that in terms of we should be thinking about the whole thing before we jump into a piece of it. I think anybody who understands building and all would have looked at the process that the police station went through and would have told you were going to go way over budget. I mean, it just was not a process that was going to develop something. And I think that's the concern is, we can come up with something that's massively priced and nobody's ever going to pay for. And where does that get us? I think the other piece of it is that we do need to be focused enough that we actually meet the needs of the departments that are trying to do it. I know when the fire station was built, I know there was an argument, you don't need doors that big. I know there was that argument. It's going to cost you more money to have a 14-foot door. All you need is a 12-foot door. We would have been, buying special trucks for years and years and years to fit under a 12-foot door. We shouldn't be having those arguments. We should be saying this is what these departments need. Now, if we can include that in something that includes something else, that's great. But that's part of why we need to be a little bit focused and not just be so big that we don't meet anybody's needs.
Yeah.
Kate?
Oh, well,
Any indigestion, Kate?
yeah, well,
Don't eat before these meetings.
yeah, it's really tough because the reason, part of the reason we didn't build a new one, we decided to fix the old buildings was because I don't think there was appetite in the town for building new. We had some sort of an unfortunate inventory of the buildings and their needs, and we were given a $3 or $4 million estimate for fixing them, and the town didn't even want to spend that much, because if we had taken that money and fixed those buildings at the time, I think at least we would have had buildings with good air quality and have had some fixes. But the town has had no will to maintain their buildings over the years, which is why a lot of it, reason why we've gotten somewhere, where we are. And they never, ever wanted ever to build them properly to start with, and then they didn't maintain them. So, and I don't really see the town changing that much. It's too Yankee, they're always pinching the penny, and they're doing without the basement, and they're doing, on slab, and they want to argue for the 10-foot instead of the 14-foot doors, or the 12-foot instead of the 14-foot doors. It's an uphill battle all the way, and I'm not sure that we're going to get town support for it.
Well, I think
Go ahead.
that's why we're here. We're to provide the leadership to do those kinds of things. And I think a small, nimble committee to design a building isn't appropriate at this point. I think a small, nimble committee of people who we kind of handpick, who show leadership qualities, who recognize the needs that we have in this town. We can't keep kicking the can down the road. We've done that with maintenance. We've done that with lots of things. We can't keep doing that with facilities. We're going to have to come up with a reasonably comprehensive plan. A municipal complex still can have a separate public safety building in it. We may need another town hall. We may need a senior center. We may need all kinds, various things. But I think if we put together a committee which says this is the high priority, this is not one of 14 pie in the sky things we want to discuss. We want to talk about how do we house the critical infrastructure that this town needs in order to move forward into the remaining part of the century. And I don't mean we have to put it off to the end of the century, but we can. But I think if we choose our committee members judiciously, if they have a clear charge, and that can include looking at sharing facilities, but also we have to look at shorter term, maybe not shorter term, but at least short term needs that we have for our public safety facilities. We should do that. And I would certainly propose that we, again, carefully select a small group of people with a dedicated mission to address these issues and come up with a reasonable plan for moving forward. And part of that certainly can be a shared facility.
When you say shared, Alan, you're talking about shared between the two departments, or also with town hall?
Well, no, I mean, again, whether or not, I mean, there's no reason to have the town hall and the police department necessarily in the same place, or the fire station in the same place. I mean, they have some commonalities, including dispatch, that serve both of them. And clearly there are models out there that show that works very, very well. But I would first look at the needs for the municipal building infrastructure in a relatively short period of time. I'm not talking a 3-year plan. I'm talking about something, a report back in 6 months or so, that gets us off of square one, that simply says, oh, the town will never buy this, Well, they'll never buy it unless we propose it. And so we need to come up with a reasonable plan that's well justified, that they are convinced we've looked at all the options and are ready to move forward. And then we can decide whether we can afford it or not. But until we have a plan that is well reasoned, that people can get behind, they're never going to buy it. So I think we need to do that.
That was part of what the master plan was supposed to be.
I know, but its mission is too big. We need a more a narrower mission, which simply looks at municipal facilities. And clearly, the biggest piece of that is the fire and police departments.
And, I'd just like to comment, Kate, to your point that, there's never been the appetite for this. Well, I think if at some point it does, the concept, does include meeting some other needs that the town has, say for, the Council on Aging and/or, indoor recreation and/or, community center, that's the way you build a bigger constituency that will be prepared to vote for something.
Yeah. I'm with Barney. I just feel like we got that balkanization in the past. And I think that, I don't know right now where the master planning is in their whole mission, but to me, a lot of what, and this is a little off topic, but a lot of what master planning focuses on are these kind of ethereal issues that really don't have an end game. Like, we like more open space. Well, great. Okay, we like this, we like that. But this is a tangible issue that I think is absolutely in the wheelhouse of the master plan, to say, what do people want? I mean, what is their priority of these things? And if we're going to, and I asked the question of where you're thinking of putting it, because I think at the end of the day, given our land constraints isn't the right word because we have lots of space, but given the land that we can access and, the parking and traffic considerations of that land, that's one of the items. Like, where could we be and what size facility can we put on that spot, including parking, and how many people can we serve with that? And it may self-sort, but I don't, just charging off and saying, okay, combine the fire and the police and go find a spot and do that. Then we wake up, we're like, oh, gee, we forgot, the town hall is a crappy building. Or, oh, we forgot that, seniors are the biggest demographic, fastest growing demographic in town. I mean, I can't sign up for that. That's not the right approach, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
But what I think you could do, just sort of think about what Alan was suggesting, is I think you could, set up a small working group that was able to look at how you might combine police and fire and dispatch, by looking at what other towns have done, including towns that have added other, town needs in one single facility. But the focus of the group is really to look at specifically the police and fire and how that might work as part of a larger facility. And then I think you have the detail that you need to then, if it looks reasonable, if it looks like it would be worthwhile pursuing for our town, you could bring into that people, again, a small number, because I totally hear you, John, on the frustration of having to go to, zillions of hearings and having all kinds of different people weigh in on stuff. That you then draw in a few people representing some of those other interests. in terms of the master plan, I will say that the goal is not to have a plan that just sits on a shelf. The goal is to have a plan with real actionable items. But this level of planning is not going to happen through the master plan.
I didn't expect that level of planning to happen there, but I certainly expected some level of support or direction from coming from there. And that's what I was hoping that we could have before we embarked on this, because then you got the support, you know, and you know much better the direction you want to go.
Yeah.
I just want to bring Luke up to speak because he just came on. We're talking about the possibility of a joint public safety building, and we're talking about whether or not to have a committee, how to get there, and how to get done what we'd like to get done, and how we got to where we're at to start with.
Yeah. I think actually I've talked about this with, I think, both chiefs. And I don't know if you've already said this. If you have, I'm sorry to kind of go down this road again. But, you know, I think we need to get some ideas together of, you know, what it would cost. And, you know, if we did a single building, a joint building, you know, just so we have an idea, so we have a starting point. You know, and I think that can be done. You know, I know Chief Fisher, you and I have talked about, you know, some of the different police buildings that have gone up, and, you know, just single individual, you know, police only sort of structures. And, you know, I mean, I know you have access to some of that information, and obviously numbers change and everything, but like, we don't even really have an idea where we're starting from. And then, you know, the property that we've sort of identified, it's been quite the process trying to get in contact with the owners of that property. You know, so I think, you know, I think there's still some initial legwork to be done. But yeah, I think a small committee, you know, maybe to just gather some of that information. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a formal committee, I don't think. You know, it could even just be, you know, I mean, I have no problem working with the chiefs on this. Oh, who's barking?
Sorry, that's my dog.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm usually used to people doing that at me. But you know, I mean, I think we need some initial information before we bring it out to the town, right? Because it's going to be the same sort of thing. Well, how much is it going to cost, and how long is it going to take? And, you know, if we go in a little more prepared, you know, I think we can have more productive discussions early on. You know, because this is something that you could just drag out, you know, a ridiculous amount of time, and then, you know, it doesn't really serve the purpose. You know, I mean, the goal would be, you know, if we decide to move forward, we have to move forward, you know, not necessarily quickly, but, you know, we have to start the process, because we're 3 to 5 years from putting a shovel in the ground, right? So.
And we don't need a year to determine whether we have a need.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
that's predetermined.
Right.
We have a need.
Right.
Now the question is, how do we address that need?
Right.
And that's, I think, where we need to go. And I think we need to stop waiting around to begin to do that. I think that's something that we should be addressing in the short term, not the long term.
Yep, I agree. Yeah.
So if that's, I think I will, well, let me ask for a sense of the board. Do you feel that it is that we should be moving forward on this, or do we wait for master planning, or what do you think?
Well, I think we have to move forward on it. You know, I don't think we can necessarily wait for the master plan and then start. You know, I mean, we can get enough information, right? Because obviously we need a new police station, right? I mean, that, you know, that's a given. You know, that one's really kind of reached the end of its life without any sort of major, you know, rehab. So, you know, if the direction is to just keep the facility separate, you know, maybe the master plan can tell us that. Or, you know, if they want a more, I don't know, you know, universal structure that includes DPW, maybe the master plan can tell us that stuff. But I think we can gather enough information. There are enough facts that we can start gathering now before we get need that guidance or get that guidance.
What's the time frame, Barney, of the master plan coming up with their stuff?
I think it's going to be the sort of final formal document may be ready by, the middle of next summer.
That's a
And
long- But
so
is there, I mean, you've done your, again, I mean, to me, there's kind of three parts, I think, that I agree with Luke, that a working group could tackle now. And the three parts in my mind are the following. One is, somebody's mentioned, comparable towns. Like, let's look at examples of police, public safety as a standalone, all municipal government as a standalone, as a thing, and including a rec facility. What's that? I mean, we ought to have some models of what towns have done to get an idea of what, those relative costs are. Two is the master planning, not so much their specifics about the whole roadmap, but just generally speaking, what are the priorities? Like, where does a better municipal facility or a, better fire department or whatever rank compared with a council on aging or a rec, center? I mean, I just would like to have a good understanding of the relative priorities and, of the town. And then the third piece is the land availability, like what's available and what size footprint can it support and what parking can it support? I think if a working group took on those three things, and the middle one being obviously in conjunction with the master planning, then I agree with Luke, we could get pretty far along in narrowing the choices, or at least outlining the corners of the argument.
Barney, are there subcommittees of the master planning committee specifically addressing these kinds of issues?
no.
Okay.
But I don't know if you recall this from when Jan and Madeline came to talk with the board, probably a month or so ago. We've gone through a kind of a restructuring of the master plan given the break in planning caused by the COVID pandemic and also by the resignation of the consulting group. And the planning board is taking a more active role this time in really providing some direction and oversight to the master plan. And so right now, really, I think looking at the planning board's next meeting, there is a proposal in front of them for how to move forward with some of the specific analysis that needs to be done that hasn't yet been done, as well as a whole another round of engagement with the town to get feedback. And so this specific topic of a joint public facilities building is not, that's a much more granular level of detail than what the master plan is currently doing. So I think there definitely needs to be coordination between the two, but I would also support going ahead with a small group to do some of that detailed work of figuring out what the options are and the costs, so that that's ready when the master plan process gets to that point of getting feedback from people in town about some of the choices we have in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the people, in order for people to make choices, they need to have facts. They need to have proposals.
Yeah.
And until we can present that to them, they can't make an informed choice.
Right.
And so, I mean, I think, and I don't know if a joint public safety facility is the way to go or not, but I certainly think I mean, that's certainly an option. And the question is, what are the pros and cons? What are the relative merits of that kind of a facility versus two separate facilities? And it may be simply, well, we got no place to put something that large on a parcel of land. We'd be much better separating it out on the two separate parcels where they would fit better. And there's all kinds of things like that. But I think we need to get far more specific. And again, part of the problem is I don't think we need to spend a year asking whether or not we have a need. I mean, that is something we did with a senior center. Do we really have a need for a senior center? We don't have to ask that for fire and police. We know we have the need. The question is, how do we meet that need? How do we address it? And in what kind of a time frame and at what cost can we do that? And so my own feeling is I feel strongly we should set up a small committee to delve into these issues in some detail. Look what other towns have done. Look at, we don't have to reinvent the wheel necessarily. See where those solutions may be applicable to our town, and what did they cost, and what were the benefits to it. And I think until we have some of those, if nothing else, those are all answers we're going to have in the long term anyway.
Yeah.
And so we might as well get busy and start getting them.
I agree.
Okay, I would support that. But I would not, I guess I'm not sure about adding the rec, or, the community center to that. They've already,
I mean, if we've got drawings of that.
Exactly, we have drawings and we have price, and mind you, that was not sitting on top of the fire department, and nor was there housing on top of that. So,
Right.
I mean, I think there are some combined uses, but to me, housing and rec go together, and rec and fire department don't necessarily.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think in answering these narrower questions, we will also be able to talk about how it goes in the bigger plan, and how it all comes together. So I would suggest, and that we go ahead and set up a small committee. We can talk about who ought to be on that. Again, I don't think it's something that we ought to ask for volunteers. I think we go out and say, okay, what's the skill set that's necessary? What's the mindset that's necessary? And put together a small working group to work with the chiefs and the town administrator and whoever else has to be on there, FinCom, probably somebody from the FinCom, to begin to answer some of these questions. And I thank the chiefs for bringing it forward. I think you'll begin to see some action.
You certainly have support for it from the board, I would say.
Excellent. Very good. Chief Soros, Chief Fisher, any further comments?
No, I guess I would just like to thank everyone for their careful consideration. I know this is not an easy ask for either Chief Soros or I, but I appreciate the consideration that you're all giving this, and I really appreciate the direction that's going. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yep, and you'll be hearing from us shortly.
Yeah. Good. My personal request is, let's not nickel and dime this thing. It doesn't have to be gold plated, but it just shouldn't be ticky tacky. I'm tired of ticky tacky.
Yeah. Well, those are all the questions we can answer.
Process in the long term.
Yeah. Good. All right. Thank you. If nothing further, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Assignment of articles for special town meeting, if it's not pouring rain on Saturday morning. Which apparently from the forecast I saw today, it will be.
Yeah, I see.
We'll make it quicker. Yep.
I see Wayne Davis is on the call.
It was Wayne. Oh, good. He is on. Good. And Tim, I saw the town council's thing you sent today on what to do if we have to change the time of the town meeting, and how we do that. Wayne, have you seen that?
I'm sure he has.
Yes, I have. I'm familiar with the statute, but I knew generally what was required, but it was helpful to have town council put it all down in one place. I do have one question, just to get a sense. You don't need to make a decision tonight. I think we'll have to consult on Thursday or Friday as the weather forecast gets a little bit more refined. But as of what I looked at an hour or two ago, it looked like there was a possibility that rain would be light rain in the morning, but that the afternoon would be fine. And I just wanted to get a sense of how you might feel about if the forecast continues to hold like that. If we just suggested to people, well, let's start at 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon rather than doing it at 10 in the morning.
As I recall, we were doing, one of the pros of doing it 10 was that early voting was starting in the afternoon. Is that not right?
That is right.
That's it. So
True.
I don't know if the town clerk would have some opinion about that. That's all.
Okay, that's a good thing to check.
Yeah. But early voting, goes on for weeks, at least another couple of weeks, where
Yeah.
the town meeting, we need to get done. Yeah.
I really don't see how they're mutually exclusive, but I do remember that she expressed concern that the town meeting would be over before the early meeting, voting.
Before the town hall opened, yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, Wayne, I think you're right. The same forecast I saw is that by early afternoon, the rain is supposed to be over. But I think you're probably right. Let's wait a day or so and see what the forecast looks, a little finer refinement. But I certainly wouldn't be opposed to several hour delay in order to be able to get it in.
Yeah.
How far in advance can you tell people it's being changed, time is being changed?
I think, it's a judgment call, post it on the website, blast it out to the mosquito can, that's, I think what we did, we have warned people that if the weather forecast looks iffy, then you need to sort of check the electronic means of getting updated. One of the things that we had discussed, I don't believe it was this time around, but certainly in June, we had discussed with both Chief Fisher and Chief Soros is, okay, if we have to make a last minute change, do you activate the emergency notification phone system? And I think our conclusion was that best to leave that for true emergencies, and that this one probably didn't qualify. And so I think the advice was, don't make calls out to people just because you're moving things because of a rain delay.
And Wayne, the alternative, Sunday's forecast looks very good right now.
Yes.
But I'm sure people will have a resistance to holding town meeting on a Sunday.
Concord had theirs on Sunday.
Did they? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure that there's a particular resistance one way or the other.
Okay.
I think I certainly think my inclination would be that if we go to Sunday, it should be in the afternoon.
Yes.
Rather than the morning, to avoid any religious service conflict.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, there may be early voting on Sunday as well. I don't know.
Oh, really? Huh.
100% fact, but I think that might be the case.
I think you're right. I remember being surprised that they were having early voting on a Sunday.
All right. Well,
Okay.
we've got a couple days to worry about this. Let's keep in touch, Wayne, and
Okay.
see where we go. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm sure everyone will, for your morning calisthenics tomorrow morning, do an anti-rain dance, and we should be fine.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. We need the rain so badly. It's hard to not want it.
That's true.
And we got over an inch today. That was good. Thank you. All right. Shall we move on to assigning articles for the town meeting? There will be no Article 1. That's been withdrawn. Article 2, the budget amendments. Jim Dar will be making the presentation, and he did a nice job the other night of keeping that to just under 10 minutes. So that worked very, very well. And I don't know if a selectman wants to talk to it or not.
We don't usually,
You don't usually, I agree. We are unanimously supporting it, so
right.
that's good.
And Wayne, are you going to be making those announcements as you did at the last one, rather than asking, going around to the various committees?
Yes, I will just, I will just state, motion to, Jim Dar, the Finance Committee moves, motion to, et cetera. Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee recommends. And if I need to check with any other boards or committees, I'll ask at that point. But whatever we can do to speed things along, I will continue to do.
Very good. So you'll essentially be making most of the motions.
Yes.
Yes, good. Okay. Article 3, special appropriations, pretty straightforward.
You may still want to assign a selectman to the extent there might be questions, but
Yep.
if Wayne's making the motion, there won't be probably too much to do.
Yep. I can take that if you want.
Okay.
Motion 4, application of bond premiums.
Doesn't FinCom usually answer that one? If there's any questions? Or,
It's a selectman's article, so
oh, okay, so I guess one of
they
us.
support it, but
My recollection in these more technical things have tended to be the town treasurer
Yeah, that's what I thought.
responding,
Yeah.
but it's obviously up to you.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, Kim, I think, is planning to be there, so we can certainly ask her if she would do that.
so that would be Article 3 and 4.
Right.
She's usually the one, as I recall, also that does that.
Okay, I will contact her. Let her know that. Article 5, capital equipment.
That's a FinCom one, basically.
Scott Triolo is going to do that.
Yeah,
Okay. Article 6, municipal facilities.
I assume Jerry Lehrman will do that.
He's not on here, but we'll have to let him know we expect him to if he wants.
As long as his wife is out of the hospital. She fell off a 17-foot ladder
Oh, no.
and severed her thumb. So
No broken feet?
I think she also has a broken foot.
Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness. Wow. All right. I'll send Jerry a note
Yeah,
reminding him of that. Article 7, CPA. Luke?
Yeah, I'm usually on the hook for
Take
that.
one.
Okay. Article 8, Cranberry Bog.
I can do that one.
All right. Article 9, changing the name.
That should be Barney.
That should be Barney.
Barney, you're muted. I can see your mouth moving, but I can't hear what you're saying.
She's saying, I love to do it.
Yes, that's exactly what I said. I'd love to do that one and the next one.
And the next one. Very good.
I'm sorry, I had my screen up so I could look at the warrant.
Okay.
And Article 11, you can't do that one,
Oh.
Barney.
No.
There's a typo, motion 1.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Is that already gone out to print?
nope. That is not. We're just going to make photocopies of it, so.
Motion. Oh, yeah, okay.
Which one are you looking at?
Well,
Under 10?
under Article 10, it just says there was okay.
Straight letter. Yep.
Okay, and I'm happy to do Article 11.
Okay.
Do we know yet whether that's actually going to be moved? Or you're going to go ahead with it just to have it?
We thought we'd go ahead with it to have
Okay.
it.
And Article 12, long-term capital. This is rescinding the long-term
Yeah.
capital requirements committee.
I could do that too,
All right.
because that's.
Yep.
Kind of my
All right.
baby.
So then a question, Wayne. So these get moved and seconded by somebody, and then are you going to open them up for comments, either from other committees and then members of the public?
So they'll be moved and seconded. I will ask the designated people to make presentations if they want to. It's not an absolute necessity. So, for example, on the Cranberry Bog, I'll say that, you know, Article 8 is moved by Luke Ascolillo, and then I'll turn to Alex Para and say, Para, do you want to say a few words about this? And he'll talk for a minute or two at most, and that'll be done. And then I asked for recommendations from town boards and committees other than Board of Selectmen and FinCom that I already have, or in the, you know, in the case of the Cranberry Bog, I know that the Conservation Commission voted to support that. So
Right.
I'll just say whatever I can to move things along, and where I can't, and where I don't have the information, I'll just ask.
Okay. And all of this will be done the same way with somebody walking around with a boom mic.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, anything furthermore on agenda item 8? No, I'm not sorry, that's 6. Yep. 5. That's what happens. I go out of order.
I've done 6.
Okay. Item 7, appointments and resignations. I have 2 people to propose for the Highland Committee. The school committee has nominated Christine Lear.
Before you go to that one, I just did want to point out that I had asked for the spreadsheets from the Municipal Facilities Committee to be put in the packet. And for some reason, they got put in this part of the packet, the warrant packet. So I just want to point out that they're there.
They are, and they're very
If
interesting.
you guys were like me, I just said, oh, that's the warrant. And I flipped through it to the next section on the, and didn't read through it.
Got it.
And is this in, I know it's by, you know, structure. And is there any, so there's, oh, you do have a priority listing. Okay. Okay, got it.
So, yeah, I had kind of a similar question, Kate. So this seems both prospective and retrospective. Right?
It's a lot, yes, it is retrospective because there were some questions, as I recall. And I got to tell you, this format looks a little odd because I don't remember. I thought I only sent 3 pages and there's all these pages, so I'm not quite sure how this, some of the pages are, I guess, hard to.
Well, I understand the prospective part, right? There's $700,000 of stuff that have various contingencies.
Yeah, that was when we thought
We've
yeah,
authorized how much of that?
300.
So does that go from top down? Like, how does the MFC get, how are they going to spend the 300?
We don't know yet because well, we're going to probably start with, you know, priority 1, but we're going to probably go much slower.
Right.
Um,
But they're not subdivided, right? So, I mean, priority 1 is twice as much as the money we have.
yes, which is why we can't do the top priority things necessarily first.
We even know what they are. I mean, we know category 1, but within that, I mean, if we were the MFC sitting with 300K right now,
Yeah.
and we look at this list, do we have any idea what, like, within it, do we come up with our own priority?
We'd probably do the main stair railing in the library, the 2 little things.
Right.
And then, you know, we might do some of the smaller of the 2, you know, level 2 things. Again, just to have done something, and then we would probably sit on a lot of the money to see which thing fails.
But I mean, does the, okay, fair enough, but does the MFC have enough input? So let's say we do all that, and we still have 250,000. And so now we're on, you know, page 1.
Right.
Rooftop units $115 and membrane roof $140, you know. We can do like, we could do the first 3, let's say, or we could skip the first 3 and do items, 4, 5, 6. I'm just looking at this list. I don't have any sense of how they prioritize which of these then needs, do we need to give them some guidance, I guess is what I'm asking. Or do they give themselves guidance?
They give themselves guidance because a lot of these things are being nursed right now.
Yeah, okay.
So we're nursing as long as we can, even though it's a priority one, we might be nursing it
Okay.
to see if we can do it next year rather than this year.
Right. And most of these things are, you're going to spend the money in the year you decide to do it, as compared with, if I go down now to the retrospective list, there's some things that there's been money authorized and some money spent, some not spent. Is the 300 is the amount we commit or the amount we spend in the year?
I'm sorry, which 300 are you talking about now?
300 we're authorizing in the budget for MFC improvements. Is that?
For this, in this warrant?
Yes, correct.
That's for this, for next year.
That we
For,
actually spend or that we commit to.
Okay, so I think in this case it would be that we would actually spend because it's going to come out of free cash.
Yes, okay.
Last year's, a lot of it was going to be borrowed. And since we didn't do the projects in order to save money, we didn't borrow the money either. So they neither got spent nor did they get done.
All right, and then final question is apropos our prior conversation. There's the 800,000 for the police station, of which basically nothing's been spent, right? Is everything on hold on that while we sort out life?
No, quite a bit has been spent, unfortunately, because we, spent on architects and things like that. But only the part that, I think that was only in the warrant before. I think we had 135,000 or so. No. John, do you remember how we did this?
164 has been spent.
Okay, so, but some of that was from a year before.
Okay, but
warrant.
I'm sort of meandering here. I'm sorry. The 840, I mean, a bulk of it.
So that hasn't been, that was a borrowing. It has not been, the work hasn't been done and we haven't borrowed it. So nothing has
We're
been.
not actually going to encumber on any of that right now.
And we're not going to use it, right?
Okay,
But, right. But we are there, we did put money in there. One of the things we do want to do is to fix the air in that building because until we do get the new thing, we have to have those guys breathing, decent air. And especially with COVID, it has to be, with some fresh air and has to be conditioned. So there will still be some money spent on that building. And even when we repurpose that building, I mean, let's say we do build a new safety center, that building could maybe become the land use offices, and we could put some of the offices from town hall into that building, for instance.
World HQ for the selectmen. They have like a little club there and everything.
Yeah.
Or just the garage and we can leave the cars there. The Council on Aging, right? We could put Council on Aging in there. No, too many stairs.
No. Yeah, we can't.
It's
put them
not
in there 'cause
ADA compliant. There's no room for, no.
There's no elevator. No,
No,
but we
we could
could
put
put
one.
we could put some town offices in there to relieve some of the pressure on town office.
Or we could just put Tim's office there. Just have Tim there. Just Tim and Jen.
Yeah.
Nice and quiet, yeah.
Are we ready for item 7?
Oh, I didn't know if there were any other questions about that. Okay.
Yes.
Highland Building Committee. The school committee has asked for Christine Lear to be sentenced to that committee.
Oh, great.
And Marilyn Hart of 64 Estabrook Road has asked to be on it. She has emotional ties to the building. But I don't know if she'll attend anything or not, but she did ask to be on it, and I kind of acceded to her wishes that I would nominate her to be on that committee. So those are the only two. I still don't have anyone from the RecCom stepped up, but I would ask that Christine Lear and Marilyn Hart be approved for appointment to the committee.
I move the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint Kristen Lear and Marilyn Hart to the Highland Committee.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'll poke on RecCom.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
I'll poke on Christine that she was sent.
I already did that.
Christine could have been, is a twofer because she's also on the Municipal Facilities Committee. So
Yeah, she's on.
if Jerry doesn't go, she'll
Yeah.
sit in for him.
She's like Bill Risso. She's on all committees.
I was gonna
Yes.
say,
Yeah.
everything.
All righty. We have a motion and a second. Hearing no further discussion, I'll have a roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oscalillo, aye.
Lewis, I.
Modell, aye.
Reed, aye.
Thank you very much. And we have a nominee for the
Dog officer.
assistant dog officer,
Animal.
animal control officer, sorry. Jean Delano. I'll accept a motion to appoint Mr. Delano as the assistant animal control officer.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oscalillo, aye.
Lewis, I.
Modell, aye.
Reed, aye.
Thank you. Town administrators report.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 1, the Complete Streets project punch list. A week or so ago, we had a walkthrough with Chiefs Fisher and Saros, the aforementioned Bill Rizzo and Dean Stores, along with our engineers, Niche Engineering, to go through work that remains to be done on the project. And, thankfully, the list was very short for items that still had to be addressed, the most significant of which was a curb cut in front of Ferns. But I think all in all, we found that working both with Allied Paving and Niche was a positive experience. And I'm looking to you, Chief Fisher, to verify that. The project went well, and Chief Saros as well, if he's still there. We think it came out pretty well.
Yeah, thank you for that. I took the opportunity to thank both of them, for professionalism. They were right there. Everything was done on time. And Niche came out a couple of extra times to look at things, talk to residents. So I thought it was a very good process. Thanks for that opportunity, Tim.
Sure. Okay. Moving on to item number 2. We've heard from Planning Board Chair Madeline Blake asking if the selectmen have any suggestions for members of the MVP grant committee that's forming, the municipal vulnerability grant that the town was awarded. They have commitments from members of the COA, Open Space, and Energy Task Force. And I think Barney, Madeline's been in touch with you as well. But please let me know if any of you have any interest or know of others who might have interest in being part of that committee. Okay. Item number.
I might volunteer to go on that.
Okay.
It's a pretty limited time commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it overlaps with with the municipal facilities as well. And it's also something I'm interested in. So
Mhm.
Will you notify Madeline?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Okay, item number 3, actually related to Complete Streets wrapping up. We've heard from the Garden Club, who are proposing a project within the Rotary, the center of town, to install a pathway and a 3 to 4 inch impervious barrier material around the edge of the rotary. My suggestion would be that this board refer this proposal to the Traffic and Pedestrian Safety Committee first, and then potentially Historical Commission before bringing it back to the selectmen. I know they want to get in front of the selectmen, but I think, there's a process, and traffic and pedestrian safety ought to take a look at it first.
Yeah, I agree. It's
Yeah.
really,
Yeah, yeah, and actually, just one quick thing on that. So if you look at the sketch, it almost looks like it's
in the packet.
Was that in the packet? No,
Not
I
my
have seen the
packet.
sketch.
No,
So,
Wait,
So-
that's not this, page 2. No, I guess not. Never
No,
mind.
no, yeah,
no, I happen to have seen the sketch because it came to me from the garden club, but go ahead.
yeah, no. So it almost looks like it's inviting people to walk up to the statue, and they did state that that's not their intention. It's really more so for when we have Old Home Day or Veterans Day and Memorial Day when we do the parades. That people, if there's going to be a some sort of ceremony there, or some sort of dedication or whatnot, that's what it's for. I don't think we want to direct people into the center. There's a reason we didn't put crosswalks out to that. So I mean, obviously we'll discuss it as traffic safety, but when that first came in, I made sure I asked that, because we don't want that. So.
Yeah, no, they were pretty specific. They only wanted people to use it to lay the wreaths
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
But while they were making that sketch and doing some work out there, they almost got their toes run over by a truck going around the rotary, apparently. So they're a little concerned about what to do about things jumping over the curb there. So just saying, when pedestrian safety, you should look probably into that, see what we need to do.
well,
Okay.
yeah, I'm not sure you're going to be able to keep them from doing that even without a 3-foot fence. Yeah,
Yeah, well, they just go through it. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
it's lousy drivers will always be lousy drivers, and I think part of it now is it's a little confusing. Now with all the lines and everything, I think it's better. That seemed to be kind of when everything was still going in. But you get people that, I mean, it almost looks like the person went straight through.
Yeah.
So they went over the rumble strip, the center, and everything. I mean, they made it a straight shot. So.
Yeah.
Boy. We need those big cement things that are the
Jersey barriers.
Yeah.
That will go with the historical society.
yeah, right. Well, we'll just have, when the garden club is out there, they can push a button and
Yeah.
they like,
Right.
yeah.
That's what they wanted the electricity for.
Exactly.
Oh, I see.
Oh, yeah.
For lights, yeah.
Truth will out. Okay.
Okay, anyway, I think you have
Right.
the support of the board, Tim,
Okay.
to send it
Very
to
good.
Traffic and Pedestrian Safety Committee first. Yep.
All right, will do. Item number 4, once again, we have the annual request from the Concord Carlisle Community Chest for the board to declare October as Community Chest Month. The board has voted similar proclamations in years past. Should be attached to your packet, the draft proclamation.
Do we need to read this? And
You can just approve it if you'd like, and
I think,
you don't have to read it, but
want me to make a motion?
Please.
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the proclamation as submitted by the Concord Carlisle Community Chest to make the month of October 2020 Community Chest Month.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
second.
We have moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oscalillo, aye.
Louis, I.
Modell, aye.
Reed, aye.
Thank you.
okay, very good. And then finally, this morning, the Municipal Facilities Committee voted to recommend that the Board of Selectmen accept the bid of Triumph Modular, Inc. for a 12 by 60 office trailer to be installed at the DPW, the sum of $95,000. I know Kate was at that meeting and she could fill in any information or details that you'd like on that particular vote, but that's been a project of the Facilities Committee for some time, and I know they'd like to move forward with that.
So I move that the board award the contract to furnish and install a 12 by 60 office trailer for the DPW to Triumph Modular Inc. of Littleton, Mass. For the sum of $95,000.
And we have already approved funding for that.
Second.
Yes.
We do. We had 135 budgeted. We've spent 7,000 on the trailer rental. It's not clear whether we will be reimbursed that 7,000 through the DPW budget since it was a rental, but we had been told by Priscilla that it was, you know, even if it weren't reimbursed, it was still applicable to spend that money on the rental. And the 95,000 does not include electrical and plumbing hookups, but we think that the money left in the budget will be adequate to cover all of that, and we should come in below budget overall.
We have a motion. I should have asked for a second before we discussed it.
You got it, I think.
Second.
Arnie
Okay.
seconded
Any
it.
further discussion?
I have a question.
Great
So
job.
are we buying this or are we renting it?
No, this one we're buying. We were renting the other one in the meantime because it was sort of an emergency. The guys were up
Right.
in a loft
Yeah,
breathing
no, I remember.
carbon monoxide.
And so this, what's the approximate life of this guy?
40
Oh,
years.
it's a long
maybe.
time. So this will be like their spot. Is this at,
This is going to be offices, rec room, and bunk room.
okay, thank you,
Not rec room, but you know.
thank you.
Yeah, they don't wreck.
Yeah.
It's the truck.
The don't wreck it room.
That's the truck.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oscar Lilloye.
Louis, aye.
Modell, I.
Reed, I.
Thank you.
I'm just glad to think that they're going to be in a nice, comfortable area instead of where they've been, which was
Yeah.
kind of a rat hole.
Is it going to have polyester curtains and a redwood deck?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then the upcoming selectmen
Yeah,
schedule.
Just a list of the upcoming meetings. Don't have anything else, Mr. Chairman?
Oh,
Okay.
you have the minutes and the warrants, right?
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, the report, yeah.
On his report. Do you want me to do?
sorry.
Do you want me to do aggregation as part of your report?
Oh, yes, no, I was
Aggregation.
going to suggest that, yeah.
Yeah.
I sent everyone the chart.
The bids for the town aggregation and power came back today, and we met this afternoon and have recommended 3 options. In addition to the one where they don't select anything, stay just with Eversource. We went with in all cases, a 36-month term.
Oh, you did. Okay.
The low will be at 10.10640. By the way, we're going with the company Residence. At first, I thought that meant residence of the town. It does not. It's the name of a company. And so that will be, say, if that's at 0.1064. The default will be also with residence, and that will be at 0.1145. That includes 15% of Class 1 mass recs.
Okay.
And we also then decided also to give people the option, if they really wanted to be fully green with completely going all the way with mass recs Class 1, they can opt in at 0.13940. So it's significantly more expensive, but if people want to do that, they'll have the option to do so. So that was signed this afternoon and sent in. So we're all set for the next 3 years.
Good.
then how does that get communicated to the town? To the
There will
residents?
be part of the bid included communications. So there's a formal letter that goes out to all the residents of the town, which is kind of highly regulated. Then there's a second communication that's been proposed by Colonial Power, our brokers, that is much more understandable and lays it out a little bit further. And then I would like to propose that we do a Minuteman Media presentation on it. As you may have seen, the Council on Aging has forwarded an offer from Minuteman Media that town committees and boards will be given time on Minuteman Media for presentations that they wish to make, either during the monthly COA forum meeting that they hold or independently. And so I would propose that we, in concert with the Energy Task Force, put together a presentation to explain in more detail and even to answer questions that people might have about it. But we think people will probably, once again, we hope, opt for the default. We did, as you remember, when we discussed it earlier this month, we wanted to include the low. We only have 29 people, I think, who have taken advantage of that in the current contract. It will probably be similar in the new contract, I would think, and we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how many take the totally mass rec option at about well, it's 15% higher or so, 10% higher. So it's going to be it'll be interesting to see how many people feel strongly about that. But it does give us 15% more Massachusetts green energy than we had in the current contract, and we think that's a step forward.
So, Alan, I got a couple questions for you.
Yep.
So just looking at this chart, so the totally brown option, 36 months residence was the winning bid at 0.10640, you said. Then the default is the third one down, right?
The default is the fourth one down.
Fourth one.
It's the very bottom row.
Okay, and that means that in the 36 months, it's 64% wind, of which 15% is from Mass. I'm trying to understand.
No, of the other than the specified green energy part, that's part of all the packages.
Yeah.
Right now, 100% of the extra that we get over and above the specified is all national wind. Okay.
Yeah.
That will now be only 65% national wind.
64, is that what I'm reading?
65. And 15% will be Mass 1, Class 1 recs.
Oh, okay, I see. That's what you call it, resident said. All right. So everybody had their choice of different mix.
Yeah, remember we asked, when we said, look, use the 0.1160 price and see how much Mass 1 recs we can get for that.
Right.
So actually, we did a little better.
Okay. So that's the default is a little greener than it was then, right?
That's correct. It's 15% greener. Yep.
And then on the last one is the very bottom one.
The very bottom one, yes.
And what is that 18 plus 82? What does that refer to?
That's 100% Mass recs. It's the 18% is what's required, and then we're adding the 82 to that.
All right. So 100%.
That's what the extra cost is.
Got it. Okay. Well, thank you.
I guess I'm looking at the same thing you guys are looking at. I can't find those numbers.
Yeah.
All right, if you go to the first page with
I'm looking at the Carlisle RFP supplier and star pricing matrix. Is that what you guys are looking at?
the all requirements retail power supply matrix. Yeah.
All requirements, yes, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, if you go all the way to the bottom of that first page,
yes.
okay, where you go to the 36-month term, which is the last line on the page.
Okay, got it.
Okay, and you go across that now, where that used to be in the current, that will be our default. In the current default, we are, other than the specified amount that the state requires, we're 100% national wind. Okay, under this one, will be 65% national wind and 15%
But that only
Class
adds
one
up to
recs.
80%. What's the other 20%?
That's the part that's required by the state, that all the different
Oh,
programs.
that's all, that's going to be, okay.
Yeah.
So that's actually, those 15% are additional
Yes.
VRECs, actually.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's why,
it's more
okay,
green.
gotcha.
That's why it's more green.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
All right.
And then for the,
And that's, and we're taking, see now, when you look down the column headings though, Constellation, Dynergy, First Point.
those are the different companies who submitted.
Oh, residents, okay, so.
Yeah,
we're-
I thought the same thing when I saw it. I thought, well, this is for residents of the town? No, that's
Yeah,
the name of the
okay.
company.
Yeah, okay, so it's, and that's 11290. All right, got it. All right, now got it.
Okay. Thank you. So that's done.
Great. Yeah, I like the idea of a presentation too, Alan. That's a good idea.
Yeah, we'll, and Bob Zog was pretty excited about that. He very much wants to participate in that, and I think that's good. And by the way, I had a call from Juana Zamaro this evening, simply saying, this was a great choice, thank you.
Good.
So she's happy. If she's happy, I'm happy.
Yeah.
It's nice to get some of those.
Yes.
Yeah, they're a little few and far between these days.
Yeah.
All right, liaison reports. Do we have any?
No.
No.
I mean, municipal facilities, you know, we're going to buy the trailer and you got those spreadsheets.
Right.
Approval of minutes.
Approval of minutes. I found one error,
Ah,
which I already sent in to Jen. There's this on page, hang on. What did I do with it? I thought I marked it. Oh, yeah. On page, no, that's not it. Article 8 on page 5 says on the motion made by Kate Reed and seconded by Barney Arnold, it was voted. And then it goes
oh, yes.
on.
And
Yeah.
then-
So there's a missing part of a sentence there. So I've already called Jen's attention to that. So
Okay, so in that case, I move to approve the minutes from September 22nd, 2020 as amended on October 13th, 2020.
do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Okay. Oh, there's one on page 8 as well, but Jen knows about them. Okay. Hearing no discussion, roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Pascal,
Lewis, I.
Odell, I.
Reed, aye.
Thank you. And I will now let's
Do I
take a
need-
motion to go into
Yeah, okay.
executive session.
You've
Am I
got
supposed
the,
to say something
Yeah.
about the warrant,
yes, yeah,
the payroll, the items I signed? Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay.
the
Remember?
warrants you
Uh,
approved,
Sorry, I
right.
did.
So, yeah, the approved town expenses or payroll warrants, there were 3 of them. And one was the school expense, 108,000 plus. Another was which was, you know, a lot, some of that was, you know, COVID related expenses. Town expense was $1,185,100. And that was, the big chunk of that was for the complete streets paving. And then the payroll warrant was fairly straightforward. That was the town and the school for 727,000 plus.
Do we have to approve that, Tim?
Well, Barney essentially approved the warrant. I guess you're just accepting her
Accepting it.
report. Yeah,
I'm just reporting, yeah.
Thank you.
Before we go to executive, I just got an email from Steve Hinton who did most of the work for the easement with Barney, and he would like to know if we would like him to do some graphics and make a presentation for that. That's the last warrant article on the.
I don't think that, well, it'd have to be as a handout.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I will talk to him and I'll have him present for answering questions if there were to be any questions.
Good, yeah, thank
Okay.
you. All right, I'll accept the motion to go into executive session.
I move we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing contractual, let me see, do we have it written down anywhere?
We do. It's number 11.
Number 11. Yes, here it is, sorry. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Paragraph 2, to discuss strategy with respect to non-union negotiations. Lieutenant Leo Crow, as an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the town's and litigating positions, and that afterwards the board will not return to open session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oscar Lilo, aye.
Louis, I.
Odell, aye.
Reed, aye.
Thank you.